All right, what up, Nader, MSO, MSF? We are going to talk about this radio called the Baofeng UV-5R, or if you got another model, Baofeng, that does the same thing, what they call the FRS and GMRS band. Your basic walkie-talkies, channels 1 through 22. Go ahead and throw out a disclaimer. It's perfectly legal to use these to listen to channels, but you do get into a gray area when you transmit. Use these radios how you want to, but if you don't have a ham radio license, I'm not responsible. Let's get on with this tutorial. Alright, so basically what you want to do is, you already got the radio, I'm assuming. I hope you have the radio. Naturally, before you start, make sure you install the drivers for the programming cable. The cable itself should come with a driver CD, and all you got to do is just pop the CD in your computer, navigate to the folder, and install the appropriate drivers for whatever computer that you have. So you want to hit Google, go to CHIRP, Google CHIRP, then first hit, unless you like some CHIRP porn or something, go to CHIRP downloads, click on Windows if you have Windows, if you have a Mac, get the Mac, if you got Linux, get the Linux. You want to save that thing to your computer, download, install it. Okay. Here's what you're going to do now. Going to connect your radio, plug your programming cable into your computer. Then you're going to hit download from radio. COM port you shouldn't have to mess with. Vendor is going to be Baofeng, because that's the type of radio you have. Models UV-5R, and you see they got other models too. Click OK. Give you a disclaimer about the engineering of the radio. And here's what you want to do. Turn your radio off. Plug your cable in. Just like that. Make sure it's secure, because I didn't. Plug it in again. You want to click yes. It's verified. Then you want to hit cloning, and it's going to start downloading the data from your radio. If this is the first time you ever use the software or downloaded, you're going to get a whole bunch of generic channels. Since I've already programmed this radio before, it's already got those channels listed inside the radio. And those are your basic walkie-talkie FRS, GMRS channels 1 through 22. Now we're going to look at little properties of it just to see what's inside of one of these, and you can edit all of this information. So basically at the top you're going to have your frequency, which is your walkie-talkie channel. You can name the channels anything you want. I just did a generic channel 1 through 22, and this is what will display on the radio. You can fit about 8 characters in there, so you can pretty much make it whatever you want. Like ENM 2015, I had channel 5 listed as Nader, but it's whatever you want. Right over here you're going to see you have power, which is low or high, and that will select how much transmit power the radio actually uses. Over here, make sure it's NFM and FM in the drop down menus. You always want to use NFM for the walkie-talkie channels, which stands for narrowband FM. And you never want to use regular FM, because it's wide FM, and you will definitely get some negative attention. So anyway, select to the NFM. Your power is low. These radios are 1 watt in low power and 4 watts in high power mode. Generally in low power mode, you're going to save a lot of battery. Your range is going to be a little iffy. In the mountains, especially on the Dragon, you might want to run that thing on high, just to cut through all those trees and whatever. You're still only going to get about a mile to 2 miles range max on these radios. It's not much more than your regular walkie-talkies, but just having the extra power does help. Just all the other features of these Baofeng radios. Yeah, you can just Google this. It's your basic frequency listings for FRS and GMRS, which are the walkie-talkie channels. I program channels 1 through 22. All these down here, we just ignore. Let's get into some basic settings of the radio. Carrier scorching, leave that at 1. Your battery saver, I keep mine at 1.3. I can usually get about 2 days out of one charge. I recommend charging it every day, especially if you're on the mountains, maybe far from the base. Backlight timeout, self-explanatory, how long the light stays on. Your beep, whether it beeps when you push buttons and stuff. Your timeout time, okay, this one's kind of important. Your timeout time is basically how long the radio will transmit when you press the key button, when you press the talk button. I set it to 60 seconds. That should give you enough time to say what you got to say. If you got to say more in 60 seconds, press the push the talk button and talk again. I recommend 60 seconds. Just get stuck, fall down, and get stuck somewhere, and the radio is just continuously transmitting, and nobody else can transmit on the channel. So just leave that as it is. Display mode A Display mode B, basically, you can monitor 2 channels at once. Display mode A and B basically tells you what is going to display on the top and bottom rows of lines. So mine is just set to name, which is what I named the channels. Or you can set it to channel or frequency. I suggest just leaving it at name just to, alleviate some confusion. Your standby LED color, you can make that anything you want. Your receive color, when somebody's receiving. Transmit color. Roger beep, you can enable or disable it. Basically, when you key, somebody gives you that little beep. It's up to you if you want to turn it on or off. All right. With dual watch enabled, allows you to listen to 2 channels at once on the radio. This is good if you want to listen to, let's say, 2 different groups, or spy on a different group that's, running up and down the dragon if you just happen to come across their radio traffic. On the radio, the display is either up or down, depending on which channel you want to transmit on. And it's definitely a beneficial feature. One of the best parts of this radio. So definitely enable the dual watch. Dual TX watch priority, I will leave that off. Dual TX watch priority, it will, if you select A, it will transmit mostly on A. If you select B, it will transmit mostly on B. I suggest leaving it off. That way you can decide what channel you want to transmit on. Alarm mode, you don't need to worry about that. That's for ham radio use. Voice English, unless you speak a different language. Scan resume, TO, just leave that. Busy channel lockout, I say enable that. Automatic key lock, enable, disable, broadcast FM radio. If you want to listen to the radio, you can listen to regular radio with this, which I will show next.
Radio check.
And with this feature, if somebody starts talking on your dual watch channels, the radio will automatically switch back, which is a great feature so that you won't miss an important message. Now, once this happens, of course, you got to manually switch back to the radio, but that shouldn't be much of an issue. An upper limit, unless you're a ham operator, keep it to 162 and 163 megahertz, which is the weather channels. Anything outside of that, you may get in big trouble. VHF TX enabled. I would not enable that unless you have a license. That can get you in a lot of trouble. UHF upper and lower limit, I put as the frequencies for your ham radio. Basically the frequencies for the walkie-talkies. And make sure you have transmit enabled or you won't be able to talk to anybody. I would also recommend getting this antenna. This is the stock whip antenna with the radios. It's okay, but I would recommend getting an aftermarket one like this model right here, which should improve your range and your reception in general. $14 on Amazon, worth the money. I like it, definitely works well. This area of the settings in CHIRP, you have your work mode settings. So you have display A or display B, which is the top or bottom row of channels. VFO or MR mode is, I recommend setting it to channel, and below that we have MRA channel. I have it set as 4. MRB channel is set as 5. Below that we have VFO A frequency and VFO B frequency, which those are the actual frequencies of channels 4 and 5. Basically, those settings right there correspond with that orange button on the front of your radio that says V/M right here. Everything below that is basically ham radio use, so you can basically ignore everything below VFO B frequency. To say anything other than that, you go to, move kind of fast, go to radio, upload to radio, then you click OK, because all that information is still there. Then you click OK, and give you the disclaimer again, and click yes, and then it's going to start transferring the files to your radio, and just let it download, upload to the radio. And once that is done, the radio is going to reboot, unplug the programming cable, and your Baofeng radio is programmed.